Hi everyone, my name is Gregory Scott. It's really nice to be with you again today. This is a video on Mercury going into retrograde. Mercury is in retrograde at the moment, and it's something that happens a few times a year. It usually happens 3 to 4 times, and it happens every 4 months or so. So it's a significant event, and it's quite a common event. And in astrology and usually in life, when something is repetitive and happens over and over again, it's important to be aware of what that means and how you can use the energy and the time for your advantage and really how to get the most out of it, to look at these kind of things positively. So each time the planet goes retrograde, it happens for about 20 to 24 days, and it's already happened once in 2014. It happened in February between the 6th and the 28th. It's happening now in June, between the 7th of June and the 2nd of July. And it's happening again later on in the year in October, between the 4th and the 25th of October. Now, first of all, when the retrograde part of this, when a planet goes retrograde, it means that it's going against its usual motion. So rather than a planet going forward, it seems to be going backward. And what that means symbolically in terms of the astrological influences is that energy that seems to be being pushed out usually and being able to, that's useful and that can be kind of absorbed by the people living on this planet, now seems to be going inward and now seems to be kind of being sucked in rather than being expressed outwards. And it represents the difference between the conscious and the unconscious, and the extrovert and the introvert. And when the energy is going inwards, everything goes in. So it goes into, what's held in the mind, what's within myself, what I can look at, what I can discover in here rather than out there. So, if you're familiar with spiritual teachings, it takes on a whole new light. It doesn't seem as terrible as it's often represented to be, because often, we do live in a holographic universe, and if you look within for answers, you're often much more successful than when you look at the external outside world to get your information. So that's the first positive. And to use that, really get into the kind of groove of the Mercury retrograde energy by becoming more reflective and really just embracing that, and by slowing down a little bit. And because there's less expression from yourself and from other people, because everyone's affected by this, it also means that you have a much greater depth and sensitivity to things that are going on for you. So you'll become more aware of things, and you'll become much more attuned to the subtleties of life. Some people are affected by this by overcompensating. So some people who are very expressive or very extroverted, when they feel that the energy is now shifted gears and it's pulling inward rather than outward, they fight that and they overcompensate for that lack. So Mercury being the planet of communication and trade and commerce, the people who are overcompensating will overdo all of these things. They will talk more, they will do more business, all of those things. Okay. So for everyone else, what usually becomes challenging during this period, and Mercury representing these aspects of life, the communication, what becomes challenging for, I think, most people is the communication side of things. So misunderstandings in conversations become more commonplace, sales pitches backfire, jokes that are usually funny aren't so funny at the moment, texts, phone calls, emails, all of those things can tend to get lost and become more difficult, and general chaos ensues. Chaos with deadlines, computers, technology, anything to do with travel and the communicative kind of things put in place to make travel happen become more problematic. Things with literature become more problematic. Anything to do with trade can seem can take longer than it usually would. And what I've really noticed is that theft becomes more of an issue as well. Obviously, because this energy changes from giving to taking, that seems to be impacted by that. So really, what this means for you, basically. It's time to review, it's time to catch up, it's time kind of time to tweak your approaches, and to look at alternative ways of expressing yourself, to communicate, to get your message across, and to make plans to use different sides of yourself. So it's really an opportunity to unearth unused kind of skills and strategies within yourself to get your message across. So again, it's not necessarily a negative. It can unearth a lot of secrets and answers and give you a lot more insight, and expand your skill set, because you're going to need to practice different ways of doing things, and that can often serve you afterwards once the retrograde is actually over. The one thing that you kind of should be careful with is communications that have your signature on them at the end. So things like contracts, filling in forms, putting things down in black and white on paper. When you do that, make sure that everything is absolutely correct. Errors can occur in terms of these communications, and things that are in place for long-term, the foreseeable future, when they're done during Mercury retrograde periods, you need to check that they're correct. Okay, so the basic message is don't avoid new ventures completely, but just take extra care, be more careful, make sure that all the details are correct and in place, and if you can, use the time to really just slow down and reflect, and to really find those answers within yourself rather than without. Use that kind of quiet time, the world becoming a bit slower, a little bit less chatty, and kind of use that to your advantage. So I hope that's given you an insight into what Mercury retrogrades means for you on a practical level and how you can benefit from them. If you have any questions, you can send me an email. The address is readings@gregoryscott.co.uk. You can have a look at my website as well. It's got lots of information on what I do and the horoscopes for the month. The address is gregoryscott.co.uk, and you can also find me on Facebook, facebook.com/Gregory Scott 444, where you can find information again about me, the readings I do, and how to get in touch with me to set those up. I hope you have a wonderful period during this Mercury retrograde, and I'll speak to you soon.